If I asked you to name, California's multi-billion-dollar cultural powerhouse, your mind probably jumps straight
Oh,
to,
definitely Los Angeles.
right, L.A. or
Right.
San Francisco.
Yeah.
You might think of Hollywood studios or, I don't know, Silicon Valley tech hubs.
Yeah, the usual suspects.
Exactly. But today for our deep dive, we're looking at a $3.5 billion tourism engine that is basically hiding in plain sight. It's hiding behind bureaucratic suits and briefcases.
Yeah.
We are talking about Sacramento.
Sacramento, honestly, it's a phenomenal case study in misconception because the broader public perception of a state capital, well, it's typically one of rigid government operations, legislative gridlock, maybe a few monuments thrown in.
Totally.
But the actual economic and cultural footprint there tells a completely different story.
It really does. And I mean, the numbers we have from 2023, they just tear that sterile stereotype to shreds.
They do.
We are diving into a really comprehensive travel guide today from Best in Sacramento magazine. It's authored by Aaron Matthews, and the statistics he lays out are just, they're staggering.
Staggering is the right word.
Right. We are talking about 12 million annual visitors.
Wow.
And those visitors, they're generating $3.5 billion in tourism revenue alone. That cash flow, it actually supports 25,000 local jobs, specifically in the tourism sector.
Which is massive for that area.
It's huge. And it's keeping the city's average hotel occupancy at this rock-solid 68%.
Yeah, and to put that in perspective for you, a 68% average occupancy rate, that means this isn't just a seasonal bump.
Like when the legislature is in session or whatever.
Exactly. It's not just politicians rolling into town. It indicates a year-round sustained influx of people, people who are intentionally choosing this destination for leisure, not just for state business.
Okay, let's unpack this because there is a massive discrepancy between how people view California's capital and what is actually driving those 12 million people to visit. To figure out how Sacramento engineered this modern, $3.5 billion machine, we really have to look at the historical foundation.
We do. We have to rewind a bit, all the way back to 1848.
Right.
The city was founded by John Sutter, and almost immediately the region was just swept up in the California gold rush. But the crucial distinction here is the mechanism of Sacramento's wealth.
Right, because they weren't the ones actually digging up the gold.
Exactly. The city itself wasn't sitting on some massive gold deposit.
Yeah, the way I see it, they were essentially the ultimate anchor store of the 1849 gold rush.
Oh, I like that analogy.
Yeah, they weren't the gold mine. They were the ones selling the picks, the shovels, the tents, the food to the people dreaming of gold.
Right.
They established a permanent physical infrastructure, taking in all that capital from the prospectors, while the actual mining boomtowns further up the mountains, they just completely faded away once the gold dried up.
That structural advantage is really everything because they held that logistical leverage. The wealth pooled in Sacramento. When a remote mine went bust, the miners went broke. But the merchants in Sacramento, they still kept their cash.
Right. They already made their sale.
Exactly. That early logistical dominance, it allowed the city to bypass the traditional boom and bust cycle. They used that concentrated capital to build a lasting urban foundation.
And for those 12 million modern visitors, the appeal is that this foundational wealth is still physically present, isn't it?
It really is. You can literally walk right through it today.
Yeah, the guide spends a lot of time on this physical preservation. Like you have Sutter's Fort State Historic Park, which highlights the brutal realities and the massive challenges of early pioneer life.
It's very stark.
It is. But then you move into the old Sacramento Historic District and you start to see the actual urban planning of the 1800s. I mean, they still have the wooden sidewalks and the vintage storefronts.
And, the preservation of those wooden sidewalks is actually a brilliant piece of historical tourism.
Really? How so?
Well, it fundamentally alters the acoustic environment of the neighborhood.
Oh, the sound.
Yeah. Hearing your footsteps echo on the wood, it creates this immediate subconscious psychological shift for the visitor. It forces you out of that modern concrete mindset and creates a highly immersive atmosphere.
That makes so much sense. I hadn't thought about the sound. And that district also houses the California State Railroad Museum.
Yeah.
Which, this isn't just a collection of old trains for kids to climb on.
Yes.
Though, I mean, they do have vintage locomotives for families to explore.
Sure.
But the guide really emphasizes that the museum illustrates the critical role railroads played in the state's development.
It was everything back then.
Right. Sacramento securing a central position in the railroad network was basically the 19th century equivalent of becoming a massive tech hub today.
Absolutely.
It solidified their logistical dominance.
It cemented their status as the permanent capital, without a doubt. But what's fascinating visually and what the guide points out so effectively is the architectural dichotomy within the city itself.
Yeah, tell me about that.
Well, you have the rustic, utilitarian architecture of the Gold Rush era in the Old District, right?
Yeah, the wooden planks and all.
Exactly. And then, just a short distance away, you are confronted with the majestic, grand design of the California State Capitol building.
It is a stunning visual pivot. You go from, wooden sidewalks to this massive, imposing dome.
Yeah, and that grand architecture represents the maturation of the city's wealth. The mercantile money from the gold rush eventually funded a centralized political power.
Right.
But it's not just a static monument. It functions as a working government facility where visitors can take legislative tours. You can literally watch the actual modern lawmaking process happen right there,
Yes.
surrounded by historical art exhibits.
That's pretty unique, and it's anchored by Capitol Park, too, right?
Very.
Which surrounds the building with all these historical memorials.
Yes, it's gorgeous.
So you have this really clear historical trajectory. The prospectors came for the gold, they funneled their money into Sacramento supply chains, and that built the grand political infrastructure. But, that infrastructure wouldn't have survived a century and a half without an ongoing economic engine. Because the gold, well, it vanished.
It did.
The real enduring wealth of the region wasn't mineral at all, it was agricultural.
Yes. The fertile soils surrounding the city, the land that fed the initial wave of 1849 pioneers, it eventually became the backbone of Sacramento's modern cultural identity.
Wow.
That agricultural base, honestly, is what drives the city today.
The travel guide definitely leans heavily into this. They brand Sacramento as a major farm-to-fork capital.
Very heavily.
Yeah, they list places like the Sacramento Farmers Market, which focuses on local produce and artisanal goods. And then there's the Saturday Midtown Farmers Market, which is apparently just packed with organic fruits and prepared foods.
It's a huge draw.
And they also highlight upscale historic dining, like the Firehouse Restaurant.
But wait, I have to push back on this branding just a little bit.
Okay, let's hear it.
I mean, every single mid-sized city with a farmer's market claims to be farm to fork now.
That is very true. It just feels like a trendy marketing buzzword designed to, justify a $30 upcharge for a salad.
Right.
So why should a tourist believe Sacramento is any different from 100 other cities making the exact same claim?
I completely understand the skepticism, I really do. But in this specific case, you have to look at the underlying supply chain mechanics.
Okay.
Most cities that claim the farm-to-fork label, they are importing their quote-unquote local produce from several hours or even states away.
Yeah, sure.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, Sacramento is geographically situated directly adjacent to some of the most fertile agricultural land on the continent.
Oh, so it's a matter of literal proximity.
It is a matter of immediate proximity. When a chef at a high-end place like the Firehouse Restaurant or, even a vendor at the Midtown Market sources ingredients, the supply chain is measured in mere miles.
Wow, just miles.
Yeah, that cuts out the massive logistical overhead, the refrigeration costs, and the transit degradation you see in other major metropolises.
So it's actually fresh.
Exactly. The sustainability and the seasonality aren't just marketing ploys there. They are fundamental, inescapable components of the local restaurant economics. The farms dictate the menu out of sheer efficiency.
That makes a lot of sense. The farm-to-fork ecosystem isn't just a culinary choice, it's an economic driver.
Yes.
And that leads to a really interesting realization about the city's culture, that massive agricultural wealth combined with the stable government salaries, it creates this pool of local discretionary income.
The very deep pool, yes.
Right. And that money is clearly bankrolling a surprisingly large arts and entertainment district.
Oh, the correlation between localized wealth and the flourishing of the arts is incredibly strong here. The guide highlights the Crocker Art Museum, which houses not only an extensive collection of California art, which, you would expect,
Sure.
but also major European masterpieces. And securing European masterpieces requires serious, historically entrenched capital.
Yeah, those don't come cheap.
Yeah.
And the performing arts are operating at a high capacity too, aren't they?
Absolutely.
You have the Sacramento Theater Company and the B Street Theater running everything from classic plays to contemporary works. But what really stood out to me as an indicator of this cultural engine is the festival circuit.
Oh, the festivals are huge.
Yeah. They host the Sacramento Music Festival, the Sacramento Black Book Fair, the Farm to Fork Festival, and gold rush days in the historic district.
And those festivals, they function as massive economic multipliers. They aren't just, community gatherings.
Right.
They are structural pillars of that $3.5 billion tourism revenue we discussed earlier. They create recurring, predictable spikes in that 68% hotel occupancy rate.
Now, in reading through this Best in Sacramento magazine guide by Aaron Matthews, here's where it gets really interesting. Because the author makes some editorial choices that seem completely out of place for a traditional travel guide.
Oh, you are referring to the rather unique resource links included in the text.
Yes. I mean, a standard tourism guide tells you where to eat, what museum to visit, maybe how to navigate the transit system.
Standard.
Exactly. But right in the middle of this guide, Matthews cops a link to the most popular celebrity baby names list of the millennium.
Just right in there.
Just right in there. And if that wasn't strange enough, there is a distinct, detailed section providing resources for the Dallas tornado aftermath.
Yeah.
It literally tells readers how to help, where to get help, and what specific roads to avoid in Dallas, Texas.
It's definitely unconventional.
Why on earth is a Sacramento tourism guide suddenly pivoting to Texas weather disasters and Hollywood babies?
What's fascinating here is what this reveals about the evolution of travel psychology.
Okay, travel psychology.
Yeah. For decades, the hospitality industry operated on the premise of escapism. You go on vacation to disconnect from the real world.
Right, leave your troubles behind.
Exactly. But this guide recognizes a shift toward what we might call ambient tourism.
Ambient tourism, meaning what exactly?
Meaning the modern tourist does not sever their connection to the macro culture just because they crossed a city limit.
Ah, I see.
You are relocating your reality, not escaping it entirely. A traveler checking out the Crocker Art Museum is still scrolling their phone. They're still participating in national pop culture trends like celebrity baby names.
Right, right.
And they're still emotionally invested in national news events.
So the guide is acknowledging that a visitor sitting at a craft brewery in Midtown Sacramento might, simultaneously be worrying about family affected by a storm in Dallas.
Precisely. By including resources for the Dallas tornado and acknowledging broader cultural trends, the guide subtly reframes the relationship between the city and the visitor.
Oh, so?
It treats you as a multidimensional, globally aware citizen rather than just a consumer of local attractions. It encourages empathy and broad awareness. It's suggesting that you can enjoy the local farm-to-fork dining while still remaining tethered to the responsibilities and realities of the wider world.
I really love that. It trusts that you can hold two realities at once.
It does.
And if the guide treats the reader as a globally connected citizen, the physical layout of the city, well, it treats the visitor as a physically connected traveler.
Very true.
Because once you've explored the history and the food, the geography of Sacramento itself becomes the primary asset.
The city's placement is highly strategic. It sits directly at the confluence of the Sacramento and American rivers.
Well, the rivers, yeah.
That aquatic geography dictates a huge portion of its recreational appeal.
The guide details the American River Parkway, which apparently provides miles of scenic trails winding right through the landscape. You can go hiking, biking, kayaking.
It's beautiful.
It sounds like it. It's urban recreations seamlessly integrated into the natural water flow. And the city park system builds on that outdoor focus, too.
Yeah, the parks are fantastic.
Like families flock to William Land Park because it consolidates playgrounds, picnic areas, and even a small zoo into one footprint.
Yeah, William Land Park is great. You also have McKinley Park for a more tranquil experience. It features these extensive rose gardens and walking paths.
Oh, nice.
And for families with younger children, Fairy Tale Town is a major draw.
Fairy Tale Town.
Yeah, it operates as a whimsical, interactive environment where classic children's stories are physically built right into the play areas.
That sounds amazing for kids. But, the city doesn't shut down when the parks close.
Not at all.
The guide really emphasizes that Midtown Sacramento operates on this sort of dual identity.
Oh, definitely.
During the day, it's defined by these eclectic indie boutiques selling handmade goods and vintage clothing. But as the sun sets, it transitions into this dense nightlife hub.
It completely changes vibe.
Right. You get craft cocktail lounges, wine bars, breweries. They specifically point out the Ace of Spades and Harlow's restaurant and nightclub as key venues.
Yeah, for both local bands and national touring acts.
But in mapping all this out, the rivers, the nightlife, the parks, I realized the true value proposition of the city. Sacramento is the ultimate hub-and-spoke vacation destination.
The hub-and-spoke model is crucial here. Walk us through how you see the logistics of that working for a visitor.
Well, if you look at Northern California, the famous attractions are pretty spread out.
They are.
But you don't actually need to go to all those places and pay their premium lodging prices. You use Sacramento as your strategic economic base camp. It's the hub.
Right.
You lock in a hotel here, enjoy the farm-to-fork dinners and the history, and then you use the highway system as the spokes to launch out in any direction for day trips.
The geography perfectly supports that strategy.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, the guide explicitly notes that a short drive in one direction puts you in Lake Tahoe. That gives you access to world-class skiing or hiking, depending on the season.
And then a short drive in the opposite direction puts you directly in the Napa Valley.
Right. You can execute a full day of touring picturesque vineyards and rolling hills, and then easily return to your base camp in Sacramento for, a late night show at Ace of Spades.
That's such a smart way to travel.
It is. You leverage Sacramento's logistical positioning to access premium global destinations without paying the premium to stay directly inside them.
But to pull off that base camp strategy efficiently, you really have to factor in the weather and the local transit, right?
Absolutely. The guide advises that the optimal windows for this are the spring from March through May and the fall from September through November.
Okay, so avoiding the summer heat.
Exactly. The mild weather makes the transitions between the urban walking tours and the regional day trips totally seamless. And crucially, navigating the hub itself is highly efficient.
Because it's walkable.
Downtown Sacramento is basically designed for walkability. Plus, the public transit infrastructure, heavily utilizing light rail, and a really robust bus network means a visitor can effectively abandon their car while in the city limits.
Oh, that's a huge relief.
Oh, yeah. You completely avoid the parking bottlenecks around the state capitol or the old historic district.
So what does this all mean? We started this deep dive looking at a destination heavily stereotyped as just a place where government red tape happens. But by following the data and the historical footprint, we uncovered a city that brilliantly leveraged its 19th century supply chain dominance into a permanent infrastructure.
It really did.
It replaced gold with an agricultural engine, creating a literal farm-to-fork culinary powerhouse that funds a totally vibrant arts scene. And functionally, it serves as the ultimate geographic launchpad to conquer the rest of Northern California.
The evolution from a gritty pioneer supply post to a $3.5 billion cultural engine is, well, it's undeniably impressive.
Truly.
But after analyzing the depth of the museums, the scale of the festivals, and the sheer logistical advantage of the geography, I find myself hung up on one specific data point we discussed at the very beginning.
Oh, really? Which statistic is that?
The average length of stay.
Ah.
The data from 2023 showed that the average visitor remained in Sacramento for only 2.3 days.
Wow, 2.3 days. That is essentially arriving on a Friday night and leaving on a Sunday afternoon.
Yes, a very brief weekend window. And knowing what we know now, that it holds the European masterpieces at the Crocker, preserves the acoustic and physical reality of the 1849 gold rush, offers a culinary scene dictated directly by the surrounding soil, and acts as the perfect gateway to both Tahoe and Napa. You really have to ask the question, are those tourists fundamentally shortchanging themselves?
I mean, it sounds like they are.
If you only allocate 48 hours to a city with this much density and geographic leverage, you are almost certainly leaving the best parts of the experience on the table. For anyone listening and planning a trip, you have to wonder if treating this multifaceted hub as just a quick stopover is the biggest mistake a traveler can make in California.